So let's solve the MEXT 2013 question 1.3. Okay, so he wants you to solve this inequality. So look, let's trace the steps we need to do. Okay, the first step when you see this that you need to do is you see that there is this number in this square root. Whenever you have this, you need to prove that what is in there is bigger than 0. Why? Because if you have negative number in your square root, you will be dealing with imaginary numbers, right? So you don't want to have like the square root of -2, right? So we need to say that 5 minus x must be bigger or equal to 0. Okay, it can be 0, there's no problem. And one more thing, if it was the cubic root, if it was 3, then there's no problem. Okay, just if here it was 2, 4, then you have problems. Okay, so the number in here must be bigger than 0. The x will go to the other side, so x must be below 5, right, or equal to 5. So like if you had 6 over here, 5 minus 6 would be a negative number, right? So we don't want to deal with this. So this is our first condition. Okay, so that x must be below 5. And you see that, so the number in here is always positive, so when you're going to take the square root of it, it is always bigger than 0, right? So if this number is always bigger than 0, he can be smaller than this one, but this one can't be negative, right? Because if this number over here, x plus 1, if this all was negative, how could this be smaller than this one, right? So you need to say that x plus 1 is bigger than 0. Okay, and not bigger or equal, because here you don't have equality. Okay, so x is bigger than -1. So this is our first this is our second thing to prove. Okay, so the first thing, that the number in the root must be bigger than 0. The second thing is that this side over here must be bigger than 0. Okay, so if you want to write this in a beautiful way, you can say that the square root of f of x, this in the case this one, okay, the square root of f next must if you want it to be smaller than g of x is x plus 1 in this case. Okay, the condition you must have, okay, if you want to take this on your note, is that f of x is bigger or equal to 0, and it is smaller than g of x. Okay, and that g of x is bigger than 0. You must prove this. So we did prove that f of x is bigger or 0 when x is bigger is smaller than 5, and we found this one. So now we need to find what he really wants from us. Okay, so the square root, remember that we need to respect these conditions. Okay, the second and the first one. Now the third step is that 5 minus x square root must be, okay, now with our conditions over here, we can take square I forgot this name, and both sides. Okay, so this one squared is right, taking all of this to the other side, x squared plus 3x minus 4 must be bigger than 0. All good here. Now, when will this function, quadratic function, will be bigger than 0? Well, let's find the root of the function and then we will trace the graph, okay? So number one is that it is positive, so it is like this, right? But let's find the square roots. Square roots? No, minus 3 plus or minus 3 squared 9 minus with minus 4 versus 4, 16, right? Divided by 2. This is just the formula for the quadratic function, okay? So this would be our, so minus 3 plus or minus 25 root is 5 divided by 2. Okay, so we're going to have 5 minus 3, 2 divided by 2 is 1, or minus 4, right? So it would be like this, huh? This over here is 1 and this over here is minus 4. So what do we want? We want when this function over here is bigger than 0. And this is our graph. When is it bigger than 0? In this part's over here. Over here it is negative, right? When x is between minus 4 and 1, our function is negative. So we don't want this. We want when x is bigger than 1. Because for when x is bigger than 1, we have positive function, right? And when x is smaller than minus 4, we have positive numbers for the function. We have negative numbers for the x, but we have positive for the function. You need to look to the graph, okay? So this would be the fourth thing you need to remember from this question, okay? But we can't use this one. Why we can't? Because remember, x must be bigger than minus 1. So when it's smaller than minus 4, it can't serve us, okay? So we have found few conditions. This x bigger than 1, x bigger than minus 1 and minus 1, and x smaller than 5, okay? So when you want them all together, so x is bigger than 1 and it is smaller than 5. You see, you can't take from minus 1 to 0 because you need to satisfy this condition too, okay? So you need to take it from 1 to 5, and this would be your answer, okay?